This is Road to the Golden Door, where we unpack the proven success formula straight from the minds of Golden Door winners, uncovering the motivation, methods, and the mindset it takes to become an elite performer in door-to-door sales and in life. This is Road to the Golden Door. Now, here's your host, Mikey Lucas.
What up? Welcome back to the show, Road to the Golden Door. We've got Austin Mazer here. He is a 3-year vet. Kind of interesting story, actually. Wait for him to be able to tell you that, but looking forward to it. Hit 1,067 pest accounts. That is not easy. So, Austin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mikey. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, we just had a really good 30-minute jam session, mostly me talking, but I'm glad to have you on here, man. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the year and just share some of the things I've learned about performing at such a high level. I think me and you just talked about it, but there's a lot more that goes into it. A lot of struggles that I think Golden Door Award winners go through. It's worth talking about. So I'm excited to share some of the lessons I've learned.
Love that. I love that, dude. Appreciate it. So for everybody that doesn't know Austin Mazer, who is Austin Mazer?
Okay. Well, I live in Winder, Georgia with my wife, Kaya Bramwell, and then my daughter, Georgia Grace. So we moved out here about 3 years ago. My wife and I met at BYU. And we moved out here so that my wife could pursue her career in weightlifting. And it's been such an exciting ride. We moved out here with nothing. We knew nobody other than my wife's weightlifting coach. And we live in this little town called Winder, Georgia, about 30 minutes away from UGA. But prior to that, I grew up my dad was in the Air Force. We moved all over the place growing up. My dad ended up getting stationed in Colorado Springs. And at the time, my parents went through a divorce. My dad got remarried, so I have a ton of step family. And this was around when I'm in 3rd grade, but I have a ton of step family. And my mom has been with her boyfriend for years, so I have a lot of family on that side as well. So in a nutshell, I think I've learned to see the bright side in life, because through a lot of hard things, like divorce and, parents getting split up, there's just been so much beauty in all the hard stuff, right? There's no way that some of the good things could have happened in my life without things like divorce. So anyways, my parents split up and dad got remarried. I ended up, growing up with my dad, learned a ton from him, really positive guy, but more of an introvert. And one of my biggest role models. So he just always did what was best for his family. So anyways, grew up with my dad and my stepmom. My stepmom was a Mormon. I had no idea what Mormons were at the time. And, we thought they were crazy. My dad, before my dad met my stepmom, my sister was wanting to go to some youth activity night at the Mormon church. And my dad told my sister, hey, you can go there. Just don't eat anything. Just literally thought they were crazy. Don't go. You could go, but just don't eat anything. So we had this really crazy idea of okay, who are Mormons? Ultimately ended up getting baptized, became a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that's what I ended up going to Brigham Young University. I was a cheerleader there for my entire time in school, and it was one of the most exciting things I ever did. In the middle of school, I served a mission in Santiago, Chile, and I love Chile, and I love Chilenos. I love Latino culture, and just I learned so much out there. And I'm sure we'll touch on this later on, but just another core moment in my life. While I was out there, my dad passed away from cancer. And so just a ton of stuff that has happened over the last 10 years. But that has also taught me a lot And it's ultimately shaped me into who I am today. And like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about this more as we keep going on, but with this show, but ended up coming back home for my mission, and that's, where I met my wife. And I'm in sales right now, and the hardest sale I've ever had was getting my wife on board to date me, and ever since then it's been great. So took a little bit of a convincing to get Kaya to start going out with me, but it was totally worth it.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, the little summary of kind of what I've learned and what I've been through. Great. And I think, despite all of the divorce and family struggles, I can say that I have a great relationship with all the members of my family, even though a lot of them have differences with each other. It's been rewarding to just cultivate all of my relationships with everybody. So
Well, I appreciate you sharing that.
yeah.
And I look forward to getting your story out there more. So tell me this: is your whole family Bulldog fans?
Okay, so we moved out here, 3 years ago, and I just started watching UGA. And they all cheer for Georgia now because our daughter is named Georgia. But you know, really, my grandpa's in Auburn, and so they always cheer for Auburn. War Eagle. But he went to Auburn University. But other than that, I don't have any other UGA fans in the family. But they all support him now. We love them. They're the best. So, and ever since we named Georgia Georgia, they've been undefeated actually. So, other than the day she was born, so the day our daughter was born, Georgia lost the SEC championship to Alabama. And so I told my wife, I was like, if they don't win the national championship to Alabama, we're going to have to name our daughter Bama Grace. So ultimately, I would never do it, but it's just a joke. Anyways, but yeah, that's a little bit about us. I got into door-to-door sales. And so when my wife and I started dating, I told her like, hey, I found this thing and we're going to be filthy rich. Like we're going to just have this crazy lifestyle and you're going to get to lift weights and just be a mom. And I'm just going to go out and sling stuff. And when I got into door to door initially with Fluent Alarm, I was excited. I went to Door to Door Con. It was his Door to Door Con 3. I had never knocked a door at that point, and I went with one of my buddies, Jeremy Davis, who was like my mentor in that alarm space. And I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but I think some of the best door-to-door salesmen are the alarm salesmen. I mean, there was only 6 golden doors this year. It's hard, but I just think they're really, really good at the psychology of sales. And so I learned a ton of my door-to-door skills from Jeremy. He took me to Door to Door Con. I was like, dude, I'm going to be up on that stage one day for the Golden Door Award. And I had no idea what it was. I had no idea how hard it was. I was just like, yep, that's for me. I'm going to do it. I've always been fascinated by, like hitting the standard or hitting that benchmark or being the best. I got my Eagle Scout in when I was in high school, just because that was like the thing, like you have to do this and to be the best. And, scouting's a lot about giving. But for me, it was like, no, I want to hit the Eagle Scout Award. And, weightlifting, I've always wanted to hit. We had this 1,000-pound club in high school, which was like, you had to, have your bench press, your incline, your clean, and your squat all add up to 1,000 pounds. Well, I wanted to do that too. So anyways, for the Golden Door, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And COVID happened, and I didn't end up getting to sell with Jeremy. We were going to go out to Atlanta to sell with him, and it was going to work out perfectly for, our situation, because my wife was going to come out here and train. And that fell through, and so I ended up going to Fluent Solar, and that's where I started actually knocking the doors, and I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like, this is tough. And I loved talking with people, and I loved, making those connections. I was studying sales every single day. I was really, really good at setting, but when it came to sitting across the table, I just hadn't developed the skills or necessarily the belief at the time in solar to be able to close the deals. And so I know solar is a great industry. I've got my brother-in-law in it, but I just wasn't sold on my product at the time. I was like really young. I had no idea what really solar was. It was a great start. The guys at Fluent did a really good job training me. I just I didn't make much money. And, I ended up, I went so long without selling a deal. And then, one day grandma decided to sign up, which was huge. It was like, oh, a confidence booster. I got to go through the app and fill out a loan, all this stuff. And she signed up for solar. So I was a little confidence booster. And a little bit later, I had a day where I went out and I sold like 2 back to back. And I was ecstatic. Like I came home crying. I was so happy. And then after that, like I didn't get anything else. And man, one of the deals that I sold to, we were at Lake Powell, like away from all technology, so I had zero ability to know what was going on in the world. And then we got to this one spot where I got reception, and I get a text, and they're like, "Hey, man, we're not going through with your deal." So I was like, "What? Like, come on!" So one of the I had a 2 spot that day, and one of the people from the 2 spot didn't end up going through. And so I was like, man, this sucks. So I went back to Utah from our Lake Powell trip, and I was like, I'm done. I can't, I don't want to do this anymore. So I ended up door dashing, and I just decided I'm not doing door to door anymore. This isn't for me. This is, this isn't going to work. And I kind of just I just put that dream to the side, and I was like, no, I'm just going to figure something else out. And it was tough too. So it's like, when you're married too, and I think we'll talk about this more about like marriage too, but when you're married and then your wife starts talking about joining the military to be able to provide for the family, it's like, holy crap, like I better get this together, right? And so I tried to apply to Home Depot, Costco, all of this stuff. I applied to Cracker Barrel, and like nothing really worked out. I was, as I mentioned before, I was a college cheerleader. And so I had a part-time gig at a cheerleading gym out here in Georgia, which was fun. I always talk about like, I love working with kids, love helping them overcome their fears, teaching these kids how to do backflips, but it's not going to provide the lifestyle that we want. So, and I'll keep going with this until you have any questions, but we went on a trip to Colorado. And so my stepmom's parents, my grandparents, they invited everybody to go to this ranch in Colorado. And, they paid for the whole trip, got everybody's tickets, paid for the trip to get everybody together. And I just remember being there in Colorado, we were horseback riding, there were campfires. We just had such a good time with my entire family. And I just remember looking at everybody that I had several cousins playing volleyball. Everyone's just having a good time. And I was like, wow, I really want to have this type of lifestyle where I can get my family together and I have all these grandkids and, we have a great time getting together and we have the financial means to be able to do that. And I thought, what I'm doing right now will not let me get to that point. Like, it is literally impossible. Like, if I get a job at Costco making like 40, I don't know what you make at Costco, but I was like, there's no way. Like, I could work at Costco for 30 years and this would never happen. It would never be a reality. So I was really insecure about my door-to-door kind of skills, right? I gave up. It was really, really insecure about my career in door-to-door at that point. But I remember Mitch Matthews, he had started a company. Kaya had mentioned to me, hey, there's a company out here called Anthem, and Mitch runs it. And I thought, okay, well, I don't want to do door-to-door. It's not for me. But then when we were in Colorado, I texted Mitch and I said, hey, man, like, I may want to do this door-to-door thing. Do you have an office out there? Do you have a job for me? Like, can I do anything? Because at the time, we're chipping into our savings. I didn't have a job. And, wife's still thinking about going to the military. Like, okay, that's still a problem. Like, I don't want my wife to have to work. I promised her this beautiful life. And so I texted Mitch. He told me, yeah, dude, like, sign up, do it. You'll be able to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever days you're not working at the cheer gym, and Saturdays will be your best day. I said, cool, sign me up. So we went back to Georgia. I talked to the regional manager on a Sunday, and I showed up on a Monday, and I started working. The rest you could say is history. I mean, I started August 10th with Anthem, everybody went home the end of August. And so I had to learn how to like sell by myself. It's like, I always kind of laugh when people are like, oh, it's so hard to go out and knock. And I'm like, dude, like, you just have to do it. It's your job. Like, like I had to provide for my wife at the time. And just, there was never oh, I don't want to go to work. It was just, no, like, do your job. And so I ended up working all through August, September, October, November, and then most of, halfway through December. And made great money. I thought we're rich. We're making like $100 per account. And I was like, this is amazing. If I sell 10 accounts in a week, we made $1,000. So we just kept running with it. And I fell in love with selling. I fell in love with like how to sell. And became addicted to like hitting bigger numbers and beating my personal best. And I think everybody who is a Golden Door Award winner is like somebody who is obsessed with just being better than themselves, like outperforming themselves. So went into my second year with Anthem, just fired up. Like not too many people really knew who I was. I was just the guy that was selling out in Atlanta, and had an amazing year. I mean, I was just kind of average in the very beginning, and doing 2 or 3 a day. I remember my regional, he called me one day. It was like probably in May. He called me one day in May and he said, "Hey, Austin, I want you to promise me never to go under 3 accounts in a day." And I remember being scared. I was like, yeah. And I didn't even answer his question. I just changed the subject. I didn't even want to like address it because I was scared of the responsibility of selling, like of going under 3. I was scared. Like I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And just to give you an idea of where I was at my second year. Well, halfway through my second year, I found out my wife was going to be pregnant with my daughter. Well, okay. I found out my wife was going to be pregnant pretty early on in the season, and then we did the gender reveal, and I found out I was going to be a daughter. I found out I was going to be a father to my daughter, and something about that just really, really hit me. And I was like, okay, I'm done being average. Like, I'm not going to like have this little girl look at her daddy and be like, yeah, daddy's average. And so I was like, no, like I'm done. Like I'm going to go and throw down. And so the rest of the summer, right after the gender reveal, and you can look at all my numbers too, I just would never go under 7 accounts. That was just the norm. I'd sell 7 a day. Started having bigger days, 10 a day. If I ever went under 7, I was like, no, this is average. Like that's dumb. Like I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to go sell more than that. And so finished that summer with 719 accounts, and I was totally just I was determined to go hit a Golden Door my third year. And it just wasn't even like I hope I can do it. It was like, no, I'm doing this. Like I told everybody, I let everybody know that that's what I was going to do. And I think I'm pretty sure that most high performers, like they'll agree. You don't really set a goal like hoping you're going to do it. You do it. And so one of the things that I see in the industry is when guys talk about their numbers, they say, oh, my goal is to go do 500 accounts. And the guys that always hit their numbers are the ones that say, I'm going to sell 500 accounts. It's a little shift in our language, but it was something that I was really big on before going into my third summer. If someone asked me what my goals were, I just say, dude, I'm just going to go do a Golden Door. Like, I'm just going to go do it. It wasn't my goal. It was, I'm selling a Golden Door. So fast forward to this last summer, I started the season, and this was just a little thing I'll add in here, but I was driving this really like junky Honda Civic that my mom had given it to me. It was a huge blessing when we first got married. And I just remember driving it for a couple months, and I'm like, this is silly. Like I'm about to make over $250,000. Why am I driving this? So and I knew at the time Anthem was going to buy me a car once I hit my Golden Door. I'm like, why am I going to wait to live like I'm a Golden Door Award winner? So I just bought a brand new Kia K5, and I'm like, no, this is who I am. Like I'm a Golden Door Award winner. Changed my plates to Bug Killer, like just had fun with it, right? But from the very beginning, I'm like, I'm going to hit a Golden Door. I'll just go get the car right now. Anthem will pay it off later. And I just got the title to my car. today. And
For
it's
real?
one of, yeah, they paid it off. Right. Like, and, with obviously with incentives like this in the industry, they come with loyalty. So I'll be with Anthem for at least another 2 years.
Yep.
But it's cool. Like, my company gave me an opportunity to hit a big metric, and I hit it, and they paid off my car. Both of our cars are paid off. And I forgot to mention, like, we just bought our first townhome a little while ago, which,
Attaboy.
dude, which I talk about the solar stuff and like that 2-spot day. So get this, had I not sold one of those solar accounts, I would not have gotten into this house, because you have to show like 2 years of employment. And my little thing with Fluent Solar, where I sold one account, it actually allowed us to get into this house in April, because I sold that account in April of 2020. And I didn't get into this house until April 2022. But if I hadn't sold that account, like, I wouldn't have had enough income to show. And the funny thing is, I mean, we'll get into this too, but I'm super big on like work your hours, just because it's like you have to keep your commitments. We had this, like, it was a Saturday. We had a big family event that I promised my wife I would go to. And I just said, hey, look, like, I'll go to the event, but then after that, I have to go to work. Like, I have to go out and sell. And I remember being at this park with Kaya's whole family. Her grandma had bought KFC. I could have stayed at the park. And I was like, no. I'm going to keep my commitment. I'm going to get my work hat on, and I'm going to go work. And I set an account. I set like an appointment that day that ultimately led to a sale. And so I just think it's really cool to see how everything kind of lines up when you're looking, hindsight's 2020, right? But man, like, we wouldn't have been in this house if I hadn't made that if I hadn't kept that commitment to just work the hours I said I was going to work. So you never really know what, but basically the small things matter. But yeah, long story short, I mean, went out, did the Golden Door, had a great relationship with my tech. We killed it. We won every single competition. I was the top sales rep at I am the top sales rep at Anthem this year, and just look forward to doing it all over again and just outperform myself. So went through a lot too, as far as like my second year. I was like, I had a great year. People were like, wow, Austin really got good. Like, he really had that hockey stick year. But I always bothered me that I was like second best. I was second in the company. I had lost in our big competition to a guy I respect a ton, Coney. And it just bothered me all year that I was like second place. And so going into the next year, I was like, no, I'm going to work on myself, and I'm just going to be the best I can be. And if I'm number one, I'm number one. And that's how it ended. So that's where I'm at now, man. And I'm just right now in the off season, just finding things to be productive and to like attack goals and get ready for this next year. So that's a little bit about my life.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. No, I'm excited to continue to jam. I mean, I basically already have 2 pages worth of notes already.
Yeah, so, you got a lot.
Let's jam in this. I want to know a couple things. First off, congrats on the year. 1,067 is not easy to do. How many months did you do that in?
It was 5 months. So started April 1st. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And let me. I don't want to start, I guess, backwards, but you said something that was really interesting to me, and I kind of want to talk about it, kind of see your perspective on it. The goal here really is to show other Golden Door Award winners, really, hey, look, you're not alone. You have a great community around you, and as top performers, we this is our community now, so we can learn from the best of the best. As a top sales rep at your company and in the industry. So let me and then also show, like, hey, look, we don't have it all together.
No, we don't. Oh, dude, not at all, man. There's a lot of things that I've learned throughout, like, between summers too. I feel like every year I have a theme of kind of what I'm learning. So
on that note, what would you say your theme is for this coming up year?
Okay, cool. So the theme for this next year is just to create consistency and just to be better than I was before. And I don't know if I'm sure other Golden Door Award winners struggle with this, but it's like you hit the Golden Door, and it's like, well, now what? It's like, well, for me, it's just I want to be better than I was before. And even though being better than I was before is still a Golden Door, because I think that's like repeating and being consistent is really cool. Like I'm going to keep that standard that I have in my life. I mean, we just talked about UGA football. They just went back to back. That's really hard to do because people get complacent. And, when you go up on the stage, you get that Golden Door Award, you kind of feel like, oh, wow, like I did it. But it was never about hitting the Golden Door. It's about becoming the person you need to become to do that type of thing. And once you've become that type of person that is able to hit a Golden Door, why would you go back and not do it again if you're the person that's able to do it? And I worked with my sales coach a lot this last summer and his name Alex Cornwall, incredible coach. He coached me through a lot, and whenever I would get worked up with numbers, he was like, "Dude, chill out. It's about becoming it's about becoming the person you need to become to hit the Golden Door. It's not about the Golden Door." So for me, my theme going into this next year is just about being better than I was before and continuing with my standard and raising the standard. So that's a little bit about like my theme for my sales season. As far as the theme has been, the theme for this off season, it's just been creating memories with my family. Life is short. I'm not promised tomorrow, and I work my butt off for 5 months. I love what I do. So I am going to enjoy the time that I have free with my wife and with my daughter. And it's hard. I think it's really hard to go from like attack, hit these high goals to, okay, now I'm going to be like a stay-at-home dad and hang out with my daughter. And there is literally a switch that you have to flip in order to really appreciate your off season. So my first off season, after I hit 719 accounts, I really struggled because I tied up so much of my identity in my sales production that when I stopped selling, I just felt worthless, dude. I was like, well, what am I doing? Like, I'm not selling, I'm not producing income. Like, I had so much of my identity tied up in that. And it's dangerous, man, because like if you tie up your identity in things that are external, when those things go away, you're not going to who are you when those things go away? And I would even say, if you say I am a husband, I am a father, those are the things that give me the most motivation in my life. But dude, like, what if I lost, and I say this, I'm not promised tomorrow. What if you lose these external things and you're no longer a husband, you're no longer a father? So I think something I've worked on with my coach is just finding your identity in literally who you are as a person. And those are adjectives, right? Like, I am strong, I am resilient, I am persistent, I am loving, I am kind. Creating an I am list for yourself.
Yeah.
So I went into the theme I had for last year too, is just.
That's fine. I was going to add, that was my follow-up question.
Yeah, no, and last year I really had to learn how to be present in the now, how to be where my feet were. And I just had my daughter. I really was struggling during the off season, and then I had my daughter, and that really forces you to live in the now, because like you're with this baby that's just looking at you is completely relying on you. And it really helped me slow down a bit and to focus on what really mattered. So I've learned a lot, and ultimately it's helped me become a better person, even though it's been really hard to learn those lessons. So.
Love that. Yeah, you've talked about lessons learned a lot, and I do want to get into that. Before we do that, you've said the word "become" a lot. So I looked up in the thesaurus. The synonyms for "become" is develop into, grow into, turn into, mature, metamorphosis, shift, assume the form of, to be converted to. I think one of the key attributes that I have seen in Golden Door Award winners, whether they be in my program or guys on stage, the guys that I've interviewed like yourself, is they have become they become something before they hit it. It's not you hit it and you're it, which is it seems backwards, Austin. And I kind of want to understand your opinion on that, but it seems backwards. Like, why is it that like the gurus on the internet kind of don't really talk about that? Like, I think the gurus of like the 1980s and 1990s talked about it a lot. You know, the Jim Rohns and stuff like that. Dale Carnegie's, right? They talked about, you know, it's not about what you're getting, it's who you're becoming, right? The old Jim Rohn quote. I actually sent that out to all my guys last night. That video, because I mean, that was like that video I've watched thousands of times from Jim Rohn talking about, you know, you got to focus on who you're becoming, not what you're getting out of it. Because we and indoor to door, I mean, you see this all the time too throughout the industry. It's like, what am I going to get paid per account? What's my in solar? It's what's my red line? What am I going to get paid? And I'm like, that's like you going up to your wife, me, and like, you know, what's your bank account look like?
Yeah.
You know, how much money does your family have? It's like, wait, what? Like, our generation is so 20, 30-year-olds. We're so focused on money and not value and becoming something. Like you said earlier, if your value is placed in what you have, even in your wife or your daughter, when that thing is taken away, and, you know, obviously my condolences for your father, when that thing is taken away, do you get derailed? You know, I heard Tony Robbins talk about that. You know, he's like, you know, your mom is eventually going to die. And then it really hit me. And I was like, because, you know, I was doing my best to, it's one of the reasons why for the first at least 3 or 4 years of why I stayed sober when I journeyed into sobriety, my first 3 or 4 years was because I wanted to give my mom a return on her investment. But then what happens when my mom does pass away? It's not that she's sick or anything, but, you know, her mom passed away, and I was like, you know, I mean, I really saw it really, really, really throw my mom off. And I was like, you know, and I watched, you know, I'm sure obviously you like Jordan Peterson, and he spoke at Door Archon this year. And, you know, he says, you know, you got to be the strongest person at your father's funeral. And I was like, man, like, this is an interesting point of where we get our value from, and our belief systems of, you know, do I need my dad to be there for me to, you know, tell me I'm doing great? It's like, well, no, I don't. Do I need my mom to be there for me to tell me, you know, that she loves me, to feel loved? No, I don't. You know, I need to go through the self-mastery journey, and, you know, through self-awareness, understand how to get there. So I just, bro, my hat's off to you. I've got literally 2.5 pages full of notes already. So let me talk about this become thing first.
Yeah.
To become a Golden Door Award winner, you must become, I mean, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but to become a Golden Door Award winner, you need to become it before. You need to mold into it. You need to be converted into it. You need to you need to mature into it before, be transformed into it. It's a good verse. I love this verse, Romans 12:2. You know, do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So to be transformed into something that is better than what you were or what your old self was. I don't know. I think that was really cool, man. I really like that you said that. I think a lot of people struggle with that. The guys that are not Golden Door Award winners and girls that are not Golden Door Award winners, I think they become so fixated, like you're saying, on the award rather than, and like you said, it's hard. I mean, I don't know anybody that's ever said getting a Golden Door was easy. Now, most people, when I say guys, I mean everybody, right? Most people, when they hit the Golden Door, usually say the Golden Door year was the easiest year of their life. It was actually significantly emotionally harder before that, because they had become that before. So they were walking through saying, I'm a Golden Door Award winner. I'm going to act like one. I'm going to drive a car like one. I'm going to, you know, date my wife like I'm a Golden Door winner. I'm going to, you know, treat the grocery store clerk as I'm a Golden Door winner. I'm going to, you know, hang out with my daughter like I'm a Golden Door Award winner. And I just love that you said that, you know, most of that you said, some of that was my opinion, but, I just, you know, I really think that's the whole manifesting. There's like a cliche taboo, like, you know, manifesting, you know, prophesying, like because of the law of attraction, people have like kind of gotten, turned off at like, I'm the best, the whole incantations, if you will, right? Like telling yourself, but you are already using incantations. I suck. I'll never be good enough. I'm the worst. I'll never get, I'll never be a good husband. I'll never be a good father. Like you're already using incantations, brother. Like, you don't realize, you're not conscious of those negative incantations that you're using. You have some words on that, bro?
Well, the language that you use with yourself is so important. I talked a little bit about, when people say, "Oh, my goal is," versus "I'm going to do this." It just sets the intention as to what you're going to do versus what you hope to do. But as far as becoming, it's a decision, right? So where the emotional toll was really difficult during my golden door year, like there was some days where I broke down crying. I had to call my sales coach, like it was hard. And once I made the decision though to do it, like there was never a question of if I was going to hit it. But there were things that I had to go through that summer and lessons I had to learn that helped me become a different person. But one thing that you said that resonated with me was the hardest points came before, and I'd have to agree with that. Like I've had so many other hard things happen in my life, man. Like going way back, man. Like my parents getting divorced, going through the drama of separated family, like, and feeling like you're being torn, to different sides as a kid. Like, dude, like that stuff's way harder than hitting a golden door. Like losing my dad. Like that was one of the hardest things ever. And, hard is relative, I think. And, but a lot of those hard things that have happened in my life have given me like the strength and the ability to tackle other obstacles. And so, and the other thing that you said that resonated with me was just like, do you need your dad to like become to be happy all the time? It's like, man, like it'd be really nice if he were around, but he isn't. And so like I've had to figure out how to be happy without my dad, like, and that's also been hard, right? But and I just all of it's been important to shape me and who I am today. And just touching on my dad for a bit, I mean, one of the things that my dad always said, like, was everything happens for a reason. Even before he was involved in like the Mormon church and we got all involved in religion. I would say we were like C&E Catholics before.
Priesters.
Yeah, dude. We went to church on Christmas and Easter. We went to mass, and that was it. And even then, before we had like a really strong foundation in church, our foundation was everything happens for a reason. Even through divorce, everything happens for a reason. And there were like some days where like I didn't even know how my dad was holding it together. He was raising me, and my two sisters, because that's just how court worked out, and what a blessing that I love my mom, and I love that like I have such a good relationship with my mom still to this day, but it was a blessing that I ended up with my dad because I got to grow up with my dad. And, had I not grown up with my dad, I wouldn't have had any memories with him, or as many. Right. But yeah, so, I mean, everything happens for a reason. And I think that's something that I learned and it's been a constant through my whole life. And when something hard happens, I can just tell myself everything happens for a reason. But just something I wanted to touch on with everything we're talking about, man, because, I think as high performers, we have these high standards for ourselves, and then we can let these, like, if we have a bad day in sales, for some reason, we forget that there's a bigger picture, and, we forget everything happens for a reason. Like sometimes we forget so quickly, but there is, and that's something that I experienced during the summer. If I had a bad sales day, I thought my life was bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what happened? It's like, no, dude, like it's fine. Like, like you had a crappy day. Who cares? Move on. like that. And and a lot of times if I called my mom, she was like, dude, you had a humble pie day. Like, just swallow it, like eat up the humble pie and move on. So, man, just a couple of thoughts from what you had to say. But ultimately, a lot of these hard things in my life have allowed me to.
Austin, let me ask you this, dude. Was there ever a time that you didn't feel proud of yourself? Because I know now you're saying a lot that you feel proud of who you are, and I think that's a really, really, really important thing as a high achiever. Because if you're going to stay consistently as a high achiever, you know, being proud of who you are, being able to look at yourself in the mirror and look at yourself in the eyes is something that's super important. If before you get into that, I think it's going to sound, I haven't really talked about, I don't think I've ever talked about this. I would say the only people that know that I do this is the people that go to my gym that probably think I'm weird for doing it, but I did it for like probably 3 or 4 years. I still do it today. I started in like 2013, where I would go up to the mirror in the middle of the gym and I would just sit there and I would literally go face to face and look at myself. And, eventually I started to like kind of like talk to myself while I was there, and I was like, hey man, you got this. Like you got this, bro.
Yeah.
Let's go. And it wasn't like, yeah, let's go lift some weights. It was like, it was more or less life stuff. Like, you got this, bro. Like, you're called. Like, I was looking in the depths of my soul through myself in the mirror. Mind you, I was as high as a kite on endorphins because I was lifting weights.
Yeah.
But it was a really like anchoring time for myself. So practicing looking in yourself in the mirror is really important to me. That being said, when did you not feel proud of yourself?
Yeah. So it all kind of stems from when we first got married, and I was just, there's that pressure to be a provider as a man. And, there after I had quit the door-to-door thing, and I was like, I'm just going to go find some other job. And my wife had to start looking into, possibly being one of like the sole providers for our family. Like, that was hard. But I mean, if there's like a core moment that still drives me to this day, I talked about it at the panel for Door-to-Door Con. But there was a day I was knocking for solar, and it started to rain, and I came home and I cried to my wife, and I was like, I can't do this. This is hard. And my wife is amazing. She comforted me for a second, and she's like, hey man, like, time to go back out, like, go finish the day. And that was a moment where I wasn't really proud of myself, and she told me to get back out there and go finish the day. So she was there. She's like, hey, like, keep your word, like, keep your commitment. But ultimately, like, I just had to tell her, like, I was done, and so everything after that, even though my wife and we made some good memories, like door dashing together. I remember we listened to a Hunger Games book together. There were some good memories there, but internally I was not proud of like my ability to provide for my wife. And, I wanted to have this family one day and have kids. And I was like, I just don't think I'm like, I didn't even have a job at the time. So it was just a tough time for me, man. And, that's not to say that you can't be an amazing husband, an amazing father working other jobs. It's just like, I just had a vision for my life that I wasn't living up to. And I know plenty of amazing fathers and amazing husbands that aren't doing door to door, and they're not making 6 figures. It's just for what I wanted in my life, I needed to be able to have like that flexibility and that financial freedom for my wife to be able to follow her dreams. And she's still lifting weights, man. It's really cool to see my wife. She's doing her weightlifting, and 7 months after she had Georgia, she was already competing, and she did awesome. She won a gold medal in the U25s under 25 category. And then she just competed a little while ago and had her best total postpartum. Right. And so, dude, it's so cool to see her progress. And it's like, for me, when I go out and knock doors, it's like, hey, I'm going to go work really, really hard so that I can give my wife like a beautiful my wife and my daughter an amazing life, and I have a lot of fun doing it too. So, but yeah, that's one of those moments that I was not super proud of myself. And then I touched on it a little bit ago, but when you tie your income up and, when you tie your identity up in your income and your production and your sales numbers, you can get really down on yourself. So after my second season, knocking doors, I had, become like, oh my gosh, this is, one of Anthem's top reps. It's really, and I'd really adapted that identity, and I loved the adrenaline boost of getting sales. And when the season went over, I wasn't really proud of myself because I wasn't focused on the right things. I didn't, I wasn't really appreciating the now. I wasn't appreciating that I was going to be a father soon. And so, it's hard. It was a hard time. And ultimately what got me through a lot of that was just coaching. I hired a coach to work with. Her name was Lindsay Tionfu, and she worked with me on kind of balancing out that, that goal driven side that I have. And then also like that tender father side where I can learn how to turn that off, do that off and on switch, because I love competing and I love producing. And I also love being a dad, and I love being a, tender, loving husband. But those two don't really mix when I'm, selling. I'm not, I have different kind of dude, I have a different person. I am a different person when I sell. Like I still have the same moral compass, but I am very driven, and I basically tell everybody, don't call me, like I'm working. And then when I'm back home from work now, I am dad. I am, the husband. And so having that on and off switch really helps. And it's something that's helped my relationship with my wife, that when I come home from work, I'm home. And when I am working, if she calls me, I think that something is wrong. And the only time she ever has called me is like when something has gone wrong, like she, rear-ended somebody in the car, or like something like that, where it's like, hey, there's a serious issue. I need you to answer the phone. But we also set expectations as to like how we're going to go about the summer. And that's one of the things, is that when I'm home, I'm home. When I'm at work, I'm at work. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let me again, if you're not taking notes on this, guys, I literally have almost 3 pages of full notes. I've got a lot of things that I'm looking for, Austin, when I interview Golden Door guys, is the attributes of a Golden Door Award winner. One, so that I can learn what is important to Golden Door Award winners and how they stack their life to win more. Two is just things that you say that are like, yeah, man, this is something that has stayed consistent in what you're saying, your topics. So things like becoming, staying focused, obviously your family, what your value is, what your identity is, and how you define that. I kind of want to transition and talk to you a couple of things here. Let me take you back, because I know you just came off your Golden Door year.
Yeah.
It sounds something like when you got on stage and got that award, you got the recognition that you wanted. And there's an Eric Thomas video that talks about Emmitt Smith. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Dallas Cowboy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the video, but I know Emmitt Smith.
He said there was I think it was like a Nike commercial, maybe Gatorade commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Emmitt Smith, he just won the Super Bowl, and it was a video of Emmitt, and I have the video. I can send it to you, but I would have pulled it up, but I was so intrigued on what you were saying. Wanted to take as many notes as I possibly could. The video goes like this. He's like, yeah, it's a video of Emmitt working out on a bench press, and he's just, he's racking 225. He racks it. He goes, yeah, with his ring. He goes, yeah, I won a Super Bowl. I can rest now. All right. And then he goes back and starts racking 225 again. And he was like, yeah, like, isn't that interesting how these top performers, I've seen it where certain guys can have it. And Ed Milet talks about it a lot. A lot of guys, they can do the 1, 2, 3 years in a row or 1 year in a row, but they have a hard time after that. And it kind of sounds a lot like you're going to continue to hit Golden Door Award because you've worked on that self-mastery, you've worked on the brain side, you've worked on really, it's what it sounds like, you really have worked on getting, like being, and this is super important to me right now. The coach that I work with right now, one of my coaches, Paul, he's like, man, you got to get grounded. Like you got to like take your shoes off, go walk on some grass, literally, whatever, like electrically ground yourself, get in tune with, the earth. And it sounds a lot like you're not going to be one of those hit and miss guys. And nothing against those other guys, because don't get me wrong, hitting a golden door, is an outstanding achievement. Like, there are certain times where guys, it's like, hey, man, like that was my goal to hit the 1 year. Now I'm going to go help other guys make money. Like there's no shame in that. I don't want people to think that I'm shaming them at all.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting because no matter what you do, Austin, you've got it. No matter if you lost everything, you still have this person that you've become. And it's cool because no matter where you're at, whether it's pest control, in door to door, whatever you do, you're going to be outstanding at what you do. And I'm really excited to watch and continue to follow your journey. And you've just, again, the things that I wrote down, a lot more of it, the lessons learned, these things you really don't let, there's a John C. Maxwell book. It's like right here, wherever in my right there. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. The little red and white book. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And it sounds a lot like as a Golden Door Award winner, one of the key attributes that you have is that you learn from the lesson. You learn something from your failures, and it's not really failing; it's a lesson. And I think that's probably one of the key. Pivotal points, deciding factors, I guess you can say, of what a high achiever, consistent high achiever in business has, is when they can go through the muck, the mire, get backstabbed, turned on, name jugged through the dirt, like I have many of times, and still come back and achieve high things and great things, and my hat's off to you, man. So I want to know a little bit about the recognition side of it. It sounded a lot like, you fought for your wife, you fought for this Golden Door. It sounds a lot like, and there's nothing wrong with this. I just want to know, is recognition something that's really big to you? Being that, let me ask you this first. There's a layup question of that. What it's a personal thing. So how many kids were in your immediate family?
So I have two sisters, and then
older or younger?
One older sister, one younger sister, and then my dad married my stepmom Kelly, and my stepmom has, two sons and one sister. So those are my three step siblings. I'm older than my step brother, my stepsister, and then I have a step brother that's about the same age as me. So him and I grew up in the same household, like same grade. And man, that kid was always better than me in all sports, man. And it's cool that you bring this up, but like before my dad got married to my stepmom, I was kind of like, I just played Call of Duty and that's it. Just played Super Smash Brothers on my GameCube.
What was your gamer tag?
Oh, I don't remember my gamer tag, but my character for Super Smash Brothers was Kirby. And I love Super Smash Brothers, and then like Call of Duty, all this stuff. But I never was athletic, and so being in a household where like I had a brother, like my stepbrother, who was like extremely athletic, it kind of made me want to get involved in sports, and yeah, man, I remember just getting in fights with my stepbrother, and he would pin me, and it just made me so mad. But him and I are buds now, and we, it's been really cool to connect as adults and talk about some of the things that we went through as kids. But yeah, man, that's a little bit about like the dynamics. But as
kind of sounds like your love language is words of affirmation. Is what I'd be correct there?
I love it, dude. I love just like it more than anything, like from my wife and like people that I care about. Like if somebody comes up to me and just compliments me, it means a lot. Now, on that same note, like, hey, like I've had to learn how to have my own words of I've had to learn how to find my own words of affirmation, because you can't always rely on that from other people. But if you want to be my buddy, like, just come and say something nice to me. That's it. So that's it.
Yeah, that's it's a common trait in high achievers, is what I've seen, is that we try to a lot. Sometimes you wear your heart on your sleeve like I do, but sometimes these like big, strong, cool, Golden Door guys, they try to act like it's not that big of a deal to them, but it's a really big deal to them. They want recognition. Why in the heck would they do that? I mean, it's like doing hard things is awesome, but if you're doing hard things behind closed doors for no reason when you're on an island all alone, I don't believe you would do it. Most people wouldn't. There's not really a point to. So having recognition is important. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's
funny because when you're, I'll let you go to that same question, but when you're in the middle of trying to accomplish something, though, it's like you kind of have to shut it all out. One of the biggest differences that last summer made was, like, I was off social media all summer, and I just didn't care. It's like I just have a goal for myself, and but yeah, in the moment, like, I try to shut out a lot of that stuff, because even though I could get a lot of recognition during the summer for, like, hey, I sold 10 or this or that, well, I'll just let Anthem post about it. Like, I'm not gonna, they can post about it. And yeah, that really did, from a top performer standpoint, like, yeah, that makes you excited when your company makes a post about you. It's like, hey, this is fun. It's fun to win. It's fun to be recognized. So, yeah, just thought I'd add that in. But I think one of the things is, like, staying off social media, and more than anything, time wasters. If social media helps you, then great. But just trying to stay away from things that take away from what you're trying to do. So I stayed off social media most of the summer just to stay honed in on what I was trying to do.
Love that. All right, so let's go back to this Golden Door year.
Cool.
You said something about hindsight's 2020.
Oh yeah.
And then you said the small things matter right after that.
Yep.
Do you remember what we were talking about there? Can you talk about that?
Setting an appointment for a solar deal.
Crazy. Walk me through how hindsight's 2020. In other words, this is something that I've struggled with, got told about this, and then realized when hindsight is 2020, how much different I would act now if hindsight's 2020 for me in 2027, 2030, 2040. So explain to me that, Austin.
Okay. Are you asking me how I would act differently, or just my theory?
How do you act now? How do you act now that you see all that worked out together for the good?
Well, short answer is the same. I just have the same systems I had when I was knocking solar. I had the same systems I used then I'm using now, to be successful in pest. Like, I worked the hours. This was before I ended up quitting solar, but dude, it's just shows that everything you do adds up. Like, who you are today, and it is all a culmination of who you are right now, like everything that you do on a daily basis. And so consistency compounds, and that's a good way and in a bad way. If you're consistently doing things that make you better, in 2 years from now, you'll be in you'll be in a heck of a lot better spot. But if you're consistently doing things that take away from who you're trying to become, then yeah, you're going to be in a tough spot in 2 years. It's like if you eat McDonald's every day for 2 years, like, hey, you're not going to be in great shape. One of my focuses going into next season is, taking better care of my health. I ate Chick-fil-A every freaking day, man, and I gained a ton of weight. But it worked for my system at the time, and but just the point there, like, what you do on a daily basis is who you are. And that's where we talk about. That's where we talk a lot about our identity. And a lot of times, these Golden Door Award winners decided to become a Golden Door Award winner before they ever got a Golden Door. That's how everything is in life. Before before you're in shape, you have to decide that you're going to be the type of person that is in shape. You got to decide that you're going to be the type of person that makes healthy decisions. And for me, it was like, if I'm going to be successful, I just have to have systems in place that will lead to success. Even though I don't know when the success will come, I know that certain systems will lead me to be successful. And one of my biggest mentors, like Jeremy Davis, taught me, like, hey, put systems in place in your marriage, in your job, in your fitness, and eventually it'll get you to where you want to go. So hindsight's 2020. I look back, even on like the crazy things that have happened in life for me. It all makes sense because it's helped me learn how to, like, for example, like divorce and having split family has helped me learn how to just be a peacemaker too. Some people think that's a bad characteristic. In my mind, it's like, no, I want to be able to learn how to see the good in everybody if they matter to me. Losing my dad, I still don't know exactly why dad's gone, but it's like, hey, well, I can make a difference, and I'm writing a book right now about my life right now where I can share to other, potential, maybe missionaries down the road can read it and be like, wow, like I had the same thing happen while I was on a mission. Who knows? But yeah, hindsight's 2020, man. Everything makes more sense when you look backwards. So you just have to have the faith, like that same certainty that I have in saying that. I just have to have the same faith moving forward. That's it. And then life becomes a lot easier. So
now, do you still struggle with that? Is that still a thing? Is you have a standard operating procedure for your life where you're like, hey man, I'm going through the thick of it. Is there anything that you do, you look at, you listen to? Do you have any things in place that when you're in the middle of it, like you said, you had a middle of the season, a cry moment, called coach, like that kind of be like a technical, like, I mean, was that like a, hey, I know I need to call coach now, or, what are some other
coach
things?
Called me.
Really?
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of,
you weren't responding and coach called you or something.
Yeah, well, it was, that particular instance was, I was on a travel trip to Texas because I work with a lot of Anthem's sales teams in the different markets, so Texas, South Carolina, and it was competition week, and I was getting my butt whooped, like just getting killed, right? Like the guy that I was going up against was, I think, double digits ahead of me, and I'd made that very clear to my sales coach, and I had a slow start that day, and he just called me. And to answer your question, do I have systems in place that allow me to get back on track? Yes. And it's like I have people that care about me, like my wife, my sales coach. Like I have people that, like my mentor, like Jeremy Davis. Like I have people in my life that are going to help me stay on track. And I personally, if I feel like I am having a tough moment, like I know how to take a step back, sit, breathe, reset my intention, and move forward. Like that's the way I deal with it. But if things are really hitting the fan, like I have people in my corner that are going to be there for me. But that particular instance, I was so focused on competition season. I was so focused on getting to the next round of this bracket that Anthem had, and I had lost the vision of like what I was trying to accomplish, and I just had to go out and serve as many people as I could. And so my coach knew that I was having a tough day. It's a funny story. And he called me and just said, dude, like snap out of it, like stop. And he's like, why, what's going on? And I talked to him. I told him my story. That's all it was at the time. It was like how I was perceiving things. And he was like, you're in your head about all this competition season. And I don't know if you do language on here, but he just told me, he's like, repeat after here. He's like, he just said, repeat F competition season, and just scream it. And so I'm in the middle of Texas, like, and I'm like crying on the phone. And he's like, say it. And I'm like, fuck competition season. He's like, say it again. I'm like, fuck it. Fuck competition season. And I just had to just scream it. Right. And afterwards he's like, now go out there. Like, you're going to fucking win this thing. Go out and throw down. And that day, like I did like maybe 2 more, but then I just was like, okay, like I don't really believe in myself right now, but my sales coach like believes, like Alex, amazing guy. He believes that I can do it. And dude, this guy believes that I could win the whole thing. And at the time I was like, I'm going to lose this thing. Like I was literally like, I was like, I'm going to lose. And anyways, I hang up the phone, and prior to Alex calling me, I had pissed somebody off at their door. You know, it was a no soliciting sign. And I left, and they had called the cops on me. It was completely unrelated to me screaming in the middle of the street. But they had called the cops on me. And so the cop pulls up, sees that I'm crying right after my coaching phone call. And this coach had to this policeman was like, "Hey buddy, you doing okay?" And if you just had somebody call the cops on you, like, are you okay? And I told him, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm just having a hard time. I can't find anybody to buy from me. And the cop was like, dude, you're gonna be all right, man. Someone will buy from you. And so then I just finished the day. Ended up knocking till dark till like 10 o'clock at night, finding 2 more people to buy for me. And then I went on to finish that week, and I ended up winning. But it was just through trusting in the process. And that's one of the things that comes that's going to come up a lot as we talk. But I think hindsight's 2020. Like when you look backwards, hindsight's 2020. But using that same faith moving forward, it's like, hey, trust in the process, and it will all work out. I've had similar things in like competition time when you get so in your head about the scoreboard. It's like, dude, no, like the only thing you can control is yourself. Trust in the process, and it will all work out. So that happened the very final day of our competition this year. Man, it was, Coney and I were going head to head, and granted I had lost to him the year prior. So I was like, okay, I got to beat him. Like I got to get him. And so I was telling, man, I'm going to go off. If you want to pause me, stop. Go ahead and pause me. But I had a whole call with my sales coach, and I'm like, dude, I lost last year. Like I failed, and like I'm a little nervous. And then my sales coach was like, dude, like you didn't fail, man. You just took a loss. Like it's so weird in the whole entrepreneur world. We talk about failure. It's like failure's good. Failure's good. It's like, dude, failure isn't like failure is just taking a loss, and you learn from a loss, but it's not like a loss has to be a bad thing. I don't like to lose, but I had to reframe how I was telling myself that story. And Alex, my coach, was like, dude, like I want you to just think about that in a different way. Like you a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, you quit door to door, and then you got back into it, and now you're going head to head. Then last year you went head to head with a guy that's been doing door to door for like 5 years. It's like, dude, that's super cool. Like you need to reframe the way you're telling yourself that story. And I didn't lose by much the year prior. And so all I thought was like, hey, I took a loss. I learned things from that year. And my sales coach invited me to write down like, hey, what did you learn from that year? And how are we going to move forward from it? And one of the things I had to do to kind of like overcome that was just, hey, like I reached out to Coney and I left him a voice message, and I was like, dude, I just want to let you know, like, hey, you've played a big role in my sales career, and I appreciate you, and you've done a lot for me. And ultimately, dude, he's been a huge guy for me to like look up to when I first started, because he was selling by himself with me when we first started. Just an incredible guy. In fact, you should get him on here one of these days because he's awesome. Like he's got an amazing story. But I had to reach out to him, and I was like, dude, like I appreciate you. And I had to just overcome that like mental barrier, right? And that's one of the reasons I love Georgia football so much, is because they got their ass kicked by Alabama year after year after year. Yep. And eventually they're like, no, we're done. We're going to win. Right. And so I love that football program to see what they've done. But anyways, moving forward, like I was doing really well in this competition. And then, man, like we had a day where I had Monday and Tuesday, I did really well in this competition against Coney. Wednesday, we kind of tied it up. But then Thursday was the final day, and this guy just goes nuts. And by like 3 o'clock, he's already at 20 deals or something. I don't even know the times, but he's already at 20 pest deals. And I'm sitting at like 11 or 12. And I'm like, well, shoot, I'm done. I lost. Like, it's over. Like, I don't know what to do. And I remember my wife at the time, I was like, I got to get set, because I started knocking at 8 a.m. Every single day of this competition. And I had to have my wife pick up a Segway, go drive it home, charge it, and drop it back off to me. Like, everybody was on board. Everyone's trying to make this happen. And I remember I knocked my townhome area with like 11 deals. And I just looked at my wife, and we always joke, I just had this like face of just like, well, here goes nothing. And I just did the shoulder shrug and like this. I was like, here we go. I'm just gonna go for it. Dude, Coney finished with like 30 deals that day. He literally hit 30 deals that day. And while I was, without going too far ahead, I was like, I went and I parked my car in this other neighborhood, like 10 minutes down the road from where we live. And my sales coach just texted me. He said, dude, forget everything. Just trust in the process. Like, forget it all. No more of this, like, Coney's at this number, you're at this number. He just said, forget about everything and trust in the process. And so I just said, okay. And I went out, and then we just did like 8 in a row, and it was insane. Like I had literally had just, and granted, like, I don't like to swear a whole lot, but like when I'm in my sales mode, like, okay, yeah, I adapt a little bit of other like mantras that help me out. And I was like, okay, I was like, fuck it, let's go. Like, I'm going for it. And I said, I'm just going to go for it. And anyways, I ended up doing like 8 in a row. And I meantime, like my wife, my sales coach, and my mentor are all texting me, like hyping me up, like, let's go, you got this. Like, I had a support system, right? And it was really cool just to see, like, when you trust in the process, everything works out. I finished with 20 deals that day. I kept my margin on the competition and ended up winning. But like, for me, man, it was just like, oh my gosh, it worked. Like, how? But that was one of the biggest lessons for me up to this point, and just trust in the process and everything works out. And the craziest things happen when you just forget about the result and you focus on the process. And the hardest times during that summer for me, like during my Golden Door summer, the hardest times, dude, were when I would look at my numbers on the day. I'd look at my numbers on the day to kind of get an idea of where I was at. That wasn't super stressful. The hardest time for me was when I would look at the numbers for the summer. And so I only looked at my summer numbers probably every month. I'd look at my numbers every 3 or 4 weeks, because I didn't care. Like, it didn't affect what I did on a daily basis. Like, I knew that I needed to sell 8 to 12 a day, and that's what I did. But yeah, I mean, it's trusting in the process, man. Like, if you focus on numbers, it drives you nuts. One last thing, and I've talked quite a bit, but thanks for listening. But around like 600, 700 accounts, I started getting in my head a ton. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I did that once. I have to do this again. And I did 500. I have to do this all over again. And like, oh my God, like, it just freaked me out. And so instead of focusing on every single time I sell an account, I send a bug emoji with the account status, like with the account data on it. So I'd send a bug emoji with the contract value, with how long the contract is, 12, 24 months, with the type of payment, because our company will track whether or not it's credit card or ACH, because ACH just is cheaper for the company. And they say it's better on retention too, which it is. So I track all that stuff. I like to make sure I have high quality deals. Well, instead of sending bug emojis, I changed the group chat to Building the Brick Wall. Like, that was the name of the group chat. And so every single time, and I'll continue to do this moving forward, every single time I sell a deal, I just send a brick emoji. And for me, it was just super simple. It was like, hey, I just laid a brick. I don't care about what the brick wall looks like right now. I'm just laying down a brick. And I know that eventually, when I look up at the end of the summer, it'll be a brick wall, and it's a freaking golden door. But I can't look at the brick wall right now. I don't care if I'm at 600, 700, 800 accounts. I just care that I'm putting down bricks, because that's all that I can control on a daily basis. So, huge adjustment that I made, and it worked out really well. So, but just focus on the process. Life sucks when you're so focused on the result. It's just like, dude, have fun with the process and focus on that, because you can't control the results, but you can control what you do.
Huh.
So,
Dude, selling, I put you that your sales are a routine. And
yeah.
I was like thinking, I was actually, it's funny that you said that. I was actually thinking about the, like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? How do you build, build a house, whatever, one brick at a time?
Yeah.
It's funny that you said it that way. Cause that's like literally what I was thinking. I was like, dude, this kid is so process driven. Because, even myself, dude, like I mean, I can't say as much recently, but as much recently, I still get it, but it's not like for a couple days, couple hours. Really, it's a few minutes at a time. But I still get in my own head, and I'm like, I don't deserve this. I shouldn't be here. I'm no good.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
I
that's
think I think we all struggle with that. Like,
yeah.
but it's like, what do you do when you feel it? You know, what do you do?
Personally,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a couple things that I do. One of them is I will do breathing techniques. One of my
Yeah.
favorite ones is the power pose. So the whole Tony Robbins stand with your hips on your hands on your hips, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll do that. I change my state, so I have to change my state. So it's almost like you're like if you're sunk in the couch and you're just stuck, you get more stuck and more stuck and more stuck, right?
Yeah.
So if I have to move, I have to get up and move. So I used Mel Robbins, the 5 second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Blast off, change it up. I do that a lot. I do, I use essential oils. So I use a couple things, peppermint oil, things like that to help recenter me. I use a lot of sensories. I got a boom boom stick. It's really a Vicks vapor thing, stick that I use to recenter myself. Um, I've got a I Am Grateful album.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Don't forget this album on my cell phone. Um, and I've got a like a wins, especially when I'm like I didn't close that deal, or I didn't get that guy didn't invest in my fund, and he says I suck.
Yeah.
So I go and look at pictures of recordings of wires that have come through of $200, $300, $100,000, $150,000 that of deals that have come through that I'm like, if these guys trust me, this guy just wasn't a good fit for my fund, or this guy wasn't right. So I've got the big wins so I don't forget that I still know how to do my job. It's like a door, right? It's like, instead of raising $200,000, I raised zero. So I think I can never raise the money ever again. I go back to wins. And another one is the I've actually done this quite a few times too. I actually created a like a motivational video for myself of me talking to me.
So cool.
And I put it behind some motivational music, and it was just me like rapping about, not rapping, but me rapping about certain things that I was, about talking to younger Mikey. And it was when I was in a super, I always record them when I'm in a super, like, that was outstanding, really good.
Yeah.
Like, wow, dude, that was outstanding. And so I could feel the energy. And I talked to myself just like I did in the mirror and at the gym. And I talked to myself. And yeah, it's because it's hard. Sometimes, they say you got to be your biggest cheerleader. And those videos of myself help out a ton. So that's what I do.
That's really cool. You talked about, and this is something that Jeremy taught me a lot about, was just creating anchors for yourself.
Yeah.
And man, the boom boom stick, I did that this last summer when I'd sell some deals. I just, and I'm like my technician's out there with me. He's like, dude, you look like a crackhead. Like, what are you doing? And so my technician, he kind of bought into the whole sales thing. He wanted to win all the competitions. He would just laugh at me, like it was fun to have a buddy out there. But no, on more real talk, like creating anchors, man. Like I still reflect on anchors from when I first started in door to door. And there was a night where I had 19 accounts. Dude, my wife's been such a huge support for me, but I had 19 accounts. And it was a Saturday night, and it was right when we first started. And I had never hit 20 accounts. And, we had a date planned to go to Cheesecake Factory. And I remember telling her, like, hey, like, maybe I'll just come home. Like, maybe I'll hit 20 next week.
Ooh.
And
Tell me more.
I was like, yeah, I wasn't really sure of myself too. I was like, I may just come home. Like, let's just go out for dinner. And my wife texted me back and she's like, no. Like, go try a little bit longer. Like, I think you can do it. And so I went out and it was like, I just looked around the corner and there was a house on the corner and I just decided to knock it. And these people had Anthem several years ago. They no longer had a pest control company. And they're like, hey, yeah, we wanted to sign up for a company again. And it was just a complete laydown. And if I had gone home, I think like the course of my door-to-door career would be different, because that was the first anchor that I was able to lay, like to set. And from that, I started to create other anchors, 30 account week, 40 account week, 50, 60, 70, and I ended up doing an 82 account week. But the building block for all of my other anchors came from that one anchor. So I think that just shows the importance. Hindsight's 2020. Put in the extra effort. The little things matter. Like, do the little stuff, because like I said, if I didn't sell a solar deal, I wouldn't have been in this house right now. And if I didn't have that one anchor, man, I don't know what else would happen. I mean, other anchors I have, like the night I sold 10 accounts, I got in my car with 9. And this isn't a day. I got in my car with 9 accounts. This is my first year selling. I texted Jeremy Davis and I'm like, dude, 9 accounts. Like, let's go. I was stoked. It was a PR. Previously I did 8. And Jeremy texted me back and he's like, dude, go get 10. And I texted him. I sent him a screenshot of the neighborhood. I'm like, it's dark out here, dude. No. And he texted me back. He said, no, get out of your car, like drive around, go find somebody and get your 10th account. He's like, get hungry. That's all he texted me. And I was like, this guy's serious. Like this. So I kind of rested on my laurels, right? Like 9 accounts. I was like stoked to go home. And he encouraged me, get back out. So I drove my car around. I saw this little tiny light, and it was a guy smoking a cigarette on his patio. And I parked my car in front of their house, walked up to him, gave him my little short spiel. Hey, I need to go home soon. It's dark, but hey, I got to help out one more person before I go home. Who's the boss, you know? And it ended up being his wife. His wife's in bed, like in bed, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. And so I'm like, dude, I got to talk to her. Where's she at? And he goes, she's in bed. So I like, cool, that's good. And I did the old school, like put your head down, scuff your shoes on the rug, and like walk into the house. So I was like, dude, just let me talk to her. And I put my head down, and then I just scuff my feet on the rug, walk in. And I literally pitched this lady, and her name's Milagros, right? Like, and it means miracle in Spanish. I'm like, this is it, right? It's going to be the miracle. I pitch her, she's in bed, and she signs up. I hand her the iPad, and she literally signs up in bed. Like, what the? And I was like, it worked, Jeremy. And he's like, no way, let's go. But that was an anchor that I used forever. And I'm like, I always know that I can sell not 10 accounts.
A reality TV show, bro. That is stuff that I swear you can't make that stuff up.
No, it's insane. And I still have the picture of me taking a selfie with this lady. She's in bed. Her daughter's there smiling because they got signed up for pest control.
Gosh.
Just crazy. But then again, I just have to share that because anchors matter. And like, if you don't do the little things, you don't get the victories. Like, if you don't do the little things, you don't get to celebrate victories. So like, you have to do the little things in order to create victories. That's one of the things I share with a lot of the guys that sell with Anthem. I'm like, dude, put in the little extra work. It will pay dividends, like more than you can realize. So anyways, I still reflect on stuff like that, man. When I sell now, I still reflect on, little Austin selling 10 or, selling 20 in a week. I'm like, no, like that came from keeping the systems I still have. So
I love that. All right, brother. Well, it has been an absolute freaking pleasure talking with you, getting to know you more, dude. I love your journey. I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for.
Yeah.
You are, somebody that's worth following and a leader worth following. And I think it's really cool because you went the opposite way. You went from alarms to solar back to pest. I went from alarms straight to solar, and I skipped pest. I've done a lot of roofing. I've actually never sold. I've knocked a lot of pest guys. I've never once in my entire life ever sold pest control, even though I know it's like the best thing since sliced bread. I'm sure I can do it. One of these days I'm gonna, one of these days I am. One of these days, I am going to sell some alarm, some
Do it.
some pest control, just to see how good I can do it. I'm going to do I'm
Yeah.
going to do the solar alarm. I'm like the best on the door. I don't know very many people that are better at me on doors. Anyways, dude, it's been a pleasure, dude. I love your story. I want to obviously support you. I know you got a podcast that you're about to drop. So why don't you talk about the podcast, and then where can we find you? Where can we follow you? I know obviously everyone's going to want to follow you now. So, and to watch your journey to hit another 1,200 year. I'm calling it 1,200. You're going to hit this year.
Let's go. Yeah. So my Instagram account is just Austin Mazer. You can follow me there. And my podcast that I'm starting with a buddy of mine, it's called The Rising Tribe. It's just a podcast that we're starting right now just because, we feel like today we got to touch on some of the emotions that kind of you can experience as a man. I feel like there's not a lot of places right now where men can go and like have a safe place to kind of talk about those things. So our goal in this podcast is to create a space where men can go elevate themselves as men, husbands, and fathers, and also to inspire younger men to take that higher road. There's so many distractions in the world. So podcast is called The Rising Tribe. And then as far as just, follow me on Instagram, and in the next year or two, I'll have a book out. And I'm excited to share my journey with everybody as I continue to learn. Like we said, don't have it all figured out, but that's what makes it fun.
I love it, dude. I appreciate it. Any final words for the Golden Door Award winners?
I'd say just stick to the systems that you've been doing because they've given you success, and avoid complacency. Just always want to be better. And that's something that, hitting a golden door is an event, but becoming a better person and improving in all aspects of your life, that takes a lifetime. So don't base your success off of an event. Like, continue to want to be better, and that's long lasting. I
love that, dude. All right, Austin Mazer, appreciate you, man. God bless. Looking forward to seeing you on stage again this year. 1,200 accounts. I'm calling it right now.
Let's go.
Talk to you later, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks.